Faith Odhiambo is an agent of the state, not just because she's president of the Law Society. She served in my council, and you look at videos of her coming with policemen to break the offices of the Law Society of Kenya.
Okay.
Look at these kidnappings.
Yes.
Why is it that Faith Odhiambo was always appearing very early in the morning at 5 when the victims were being released?
Mm-hmm.
Most of these things were choreographed.
Okay.
You understand? Were choreographed so that she portrays the impression that she's fighting for human rights. And many gullible Kenyans believed this nonsense.
My loyalty is to you, the people of Kenya, and my learned friends who I serve at the Law Society of Kenya. I intend to guard this duty jealously and execute my mandate diligently. Should my efforts be frustrated or cannot be or undermined in any manner whatsoever, I am prepared to do the honorable thing in fidelity with the rule of law and the Constitution of Kenya. Inspired by the memories and plight of every victim, may we find guidance in the spirit of the Constitution and let justice be our shield.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if there is one thing I love about people that have moral compass and people that have dignity, is that even if they are offered money or they are offered opportunities so that they can deviate from the moral compass that they have respected, at the end of the day, they fight themselves, actually feeling guilty of what they have done, and they get back to the right track when time comes. That is what has happened today. As the LSK President Faith Odhiambo, a woman of dignity we respect and have honored in the country for so long, for always standing for what is right, as of today tendered our own resignation from the Committee of Compensation that was formed by President William Ruto. About 4 hours ago, Faith Odhiambo served a huge blow to President William Ruto Committee of Compensation on victims of demonstrations in the year 2024 and the year 2025, where Faith Odhiambo was sworn in less than a month ago as the vice chair of the said committee, deputizing one Professor Makao Motwa. 4 hours ago, Faith Odhiambo posted a message on social media, and I quote her. Earlier today, I tendered my resignation from the position of the vice chairperson of the compensation committee, KE. I will continue to agitate for justice for all victims and pursue all key deliverables I had set out to attain. And I read out a resignation letter from the said committee. Faith Moni Odhiambo. Statement by Faith Odhiambo on a resignation from the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstration and public protest. And she says, when the head of public service published a notice on August 25th, 2025 in the Kenya Gazette confirming the establishment of the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstrations and public protests, I was appointed as the vice chairperson of the panel. The panel was constituted of distinguished Kenyans who have made tremendous contribution in championing for the rule of law and human rights in Kenya. But there, I doubt whether Professor Makao Motwa has advocated for that. I continue. She says, she continues by saying, the proposed mandate of the panel presented an opportunity to overhaul the existing legal and institutional frameworks on victims' reparations, which as it stands has proven inadequate in addressing public concerns over the historic crisis of police overreach and protester victimization during demonstration. As resilient as the resolve of the Law Society of Kenya has been in upholding the rule of law throughout Kenya's history, especially in the last 2 years, my oath of office demands that I do all it takes to preserve such resilience from any and all adversaries and detractors. Accordingly, I have today added in my formal and immediate resignation from the position of the vice chairperson of the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstration and public protest on the head of public service, Felix Koskei. My resignation from the panel takes cognizance of the crucial point at which Kenya finds itself in the quest for full constitutional implementation and lasting reform of our democratic context. The consequential moment for our country calls for all our rule of law institutions, especially the Law Society of Kenya, to remain unified and resolute in discharging the mandate bestowed upon us by law. As things stand, the time bound mandate of the panel has been stopped by our courts, and the proposed 120-day tenure of the panel is likely to lapse before the matter is resolved and settled. While the clock runs down on the panel's lifetime, victims continue to reach out to me in total frustration over when their request for audience with the panel will be honored. Unfortunately, it is not feasible to achieve the time sensitive milestone I undertook to achieve, and I must therefore prioritize other avenues of responding to the plight of victims through the other positions I hold, especially the leadership of the Law Society of Kenya. My commitment to agitate for the rights of victims remain impregnable. I will continue to take up and prosecute matters on behalf of victims of police excesses during demonstration and work towards safeguarding holistic justice for victims during demonstrations and work. Today, a team of LSK advocates in Kisumu is in court for the hearing of one of the matters on behalf of victims of police brutality during the 2023 demonstrations against the cost of living. In these and other ongoing matters, we will be moving to courts and seeking the intervention of the leadership of the judiciary to expedite proceedings with a view of concluding them as soon as practicable. Further, it is not lost on me that there remains a significant gap in our victim reparations framework which must be addressed urgently. LSK will forthwith engage all justice stakeholders and human rights institutions to formulate legislative proposals to reconcile the infamy in our laws and institutions that have left victims prejudi- prejudiced and short-handed in their quest for justice. Our proposal will be focused on ensuring that we transform Kenya's approach on dealing with victims of police brutality and state whatever. Now that is the letter of one Madam Faith Odhiambo, as she of today resigned from the committee set aside for the compensation of victims of police brutality during the 2024 and 2025 demonstration. Now, what are Kenyans saying after this message by Faith Odhiambo? Because Kenyans, by the way, attacked this lady. She was dragged all over after when she was sworn in this office. I mean, to continue to serve in the compensation committee. I see one Ben Wanyama saying, personally, I hoped that you would stay the cause until all victims are compensated. Now that you have resigned, the compensation chapter is closed and the victims forgotten. Abdi anasema, we said it from the start. This was a clear conflict of interest. You can't sanitize a flawed process from within. The right call, but next time listen to Kenyans and the voices on the ground. Makao Motu, appointed by Ruto as chair, was part of the setup to whitewash, not to whitewash, not deliver justice. Credibility isn't built on titles. It is earned through the courage to do what's right. Going forward, I see Patriot One Kamau anasema, it takes great courage to do what you have done. Madam President, indeed I realized that your noble resolve to pursue meaningful change from within was misunderstood by many, but you remain a beacon of hope for the less fortunate Kenyans. We wish you all the success, madam, as you continue to agitate for institutional changes towards full implementation of the 2010 Constitution. Aluta continua. Kachwanya anasema you should not have resigned, allowing people who have no regard for victims' best interest to bully you out of serving your country's weak. People should realize that any government position dealing with public money is a public trust, never tied to any individual in authority or the government of the day. Ganga anasema this comes after Ruto went to United Nations and boosted how his government has created measures to compensate victims of demonstration. We are not fools. There was no compensation to begin with. The idea was to create an idea of how Ruto is good at the UN. Sema kazi imeisha. And I really also see the sense in this sentiment because, the swearing in of this committee happened immediately before Ruto went to the United Nations General Assembly. Now, because Ruto is done with it, Further, Odhiambo finds it's necessary to withdraw because that institution, it will die. Obviously, there is no life that is left in that compensation committee. Ladies and gentlemen, what is your take in regards to Further Odhiambo's today's resignation? Leave a comment on the comment section. See you in our next video. This is the Kenyan Daily Report.